Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Military Money Mistakes live. Obviously, this was pre recorded, so technically it's not live, but I won't be around at the time this comes out. I'll be participating in an event held by the Navy Special Operations Foundation, and just wanted to throw a shout out to them and voice my appreciation for the things that they do for Navy EOD and Navy diving communities. Check them out, nsof.org, nsof.org. If you get the chance, great organization. And I love doing things with them and getting back together with all the folks that are still active duty and some of the other retired folks, and just getting the chance to, rekindle those friendships, because that's everybody I talk to whenever they, get out of the military. It's what they all say. Man, I miss all the people that I work with. And I do too. So lucky for me, I still get to see them on a regular basis. But so that's where I'll be tomorrow when this comes out. Maybe I'll probably drop some comments on there because I'll still have my phone on me. Again, too, wanted to voice everybody's, the appreciation to everybody who's reached out to me and asked about the beta cohort. And I'm still looking, still interviewing, because I'm still trying to get that 15 to 20 perfect individuals for that. And then, if you don't get into the beta cohort, there's a, whatever you call it, a pilot course that'll come after that once we've kind of verified, that all the tweaks are good. So right here, if you do want to participate in that, there's the link. I'll drop a link in the comments section when this comes out Friday, so you can set up a call and see if this is a good fit for you to help us out, make this better. So on to today's topic. Why might financial coaching be a good fit for you? This, I've been kind of doing this for 5 years now, working in the industry, and I've seen a lot and encountered a lot, talked to a lot of people. And I kind of had an epiphany here that, being educated in some of the methodology, the traditional financial planning model, that I don't think it necessarily applies to everybody. I think it's good for a certain person, like somebody with a lot of assets that requires complex analysis and planning. For most people, you're paying for a service that you don't really need. And so, as I was kind of looking at, like, what is military money mistakes going to be? I had started off thinking, like, okay, well, this kind of becomes the U.S. Vet Wealth version of financial planning. And as I learned, a lot more about what people are asking for and what they need, I kind of realized, like, I think coaching is a better model. And so we're going to talk about the difference between the two of those things today. And, I've taken like a bunch of the questions that people have asked me. Really, there's 4 big questions, and I'm going to talk through those today with you. So first question: what is the difference between a financial coach and a financial advisor? Really, I would have to say the primary difference comes down to, qualifications. What does it take to be a financial advisor versus a financial coach? Financial advisor, being an actual licensed financial advisor, requires that, right? It's the license. You have to get licensed. So it requires a test. Series 65 is what most advisors have. If they had previously had a Series 7 license where they sold all the different securities, they would get what's called a Series 66. Coaching, there's no real oversight by the SEC out there for coaching. That's a primary, there's government oversight, whether it's the state or at the federal level. People who are licensed advisors do have like an official oversight. Coaches, it's a certification, and they don't have any oversight, by the SEC or state governments, because they're not actually selling any kind of financial products. So really, a lot of it, if you look at some of the certification programs that are out there, some of them are good. I really looked at a couple. Like, I'm actually, going through and getting a certification right now, just because I like to have it. Like, I don't think I necessarily need it just because of the experience that I have and the other qualifications that I have, but I still wanted to go through it, and I wanted to see firsthand. Like, I know what a financial advisor goes through. What kind of training does a financial coach go through? Because I've been coaching, I've done coaching through some other organizations for years now as well, but I haven't done that type of coaching. So I'm currently going through that right now and seeing, like, what's the difference between what I've been doing and what they're putting out, just to have that perspective. The other big thing, so this is one that I hear a lot from the military. They always talk about the fiduciary, right? Anytime we've ever had Fleet and Family Services or whatever family advocacy group applies to whatever command you're at, they always say, yeah, you need somebody who's a fiduciary. The problem with that is, I don't necessarily disagree with that all the time, but I don't think they understand what it is that they're saying. Like, what is a fiduciary? Do they even know what that means? A lot of times they just say, yeah, it just means that they have to look out for you. Well, that's anybody in the financial services profession. Even if you're not hold an advisory license, there's still a process in there to make sure that what you're doing is suitable. It's called suitability, right? So we have the fiduciary standard of practice, and we have the suitability standard of practice. The fiduciary, essentially what that means is that they are acting in your best interest, right? If you have a fiduciary responsibility, they're acting on your behalf, like in your best interest. And advisors absolutely fall under that. If you're paying somebody for financial advice, yes, they assume a fiduciary responsibility. Coaching, it's not legally enforced, but a lot of the coaching programs out there will say that it's part of their core values or their ethics is that you are acting in a fiduciary capacity when you're coaching somebody. It's just not I don't think there's any kind of legal recourse for a coach other than the organization that sponsors their certification can pull that from them. They can say, yeah, we're no longer allowing you to maintain your certification as a coach. So while they say, yes, you are a fiduciary, I don't know that there's any kind of legal recourse for a financial coach that if they steer you in the wrong direction. The other two big real differences that I've noticed over the years, advisors focus on building a plan. So if you're familiar with the financial planning process, they have this thing called discovery where you give them all this information. And then most of the time what happens with the financial planning process, they take all of your stuff, they put it into software. The software will say, hey, yeah, they need to work on this, and this. The advisor sits down with you. They give you this nice 80-page report in a really nice 3-ring binder. They go through it with you and they say, hey, here's my recommendations for you. You set up accounts, you do whatever else is in the plan, and then you never look at that binder again. I've talked to several people over the last few years that had, done the actual financial planning, and they bring me this binder and they're like, I don't know, man. I looked at like the first 3 pages and I haven't touched it in like 2 years. So, the advisors too, most of the time when you talk to an advisor, um, the touch points aren't there as often. A lot of the times it's set it up and then we'll come back periodically, which I'll talk about that more when we get through the next question. A coach is more focused on, in my opinion, the behavioral and educational and behavioral aspects. They're getting to the root cause of, like, why are you not where you're at right now? What are your goals? And let's focus on the behaviors that you're currently exhibiting right now that are preventing you from getting those goals. Which to me, I think, is a lot more interpersonal, and that's what I like. I like talking to people, kind of on an individual level and helping them work through problems. And I've been doing that, with military transition stuff over the years, and I just like that, right? So that's what really attracted me to coaching, and still licensed advisor, but I just like the practice of coaching, man. To me, it's a better way to deliver financial services because I can still do a lot of the same things. Just that's what I like to focus on, right? So why coaching over advising? That was the second question that a lot of people ask me, like, why don't you just do the paid advising? Um, I started looking up a lot of this stuff, and it's pretty heart wrenching. You see, there's something like 75 to 80% of American households are living paycheck to paycheck. And it's surprising, actually, a lot of those are families with, six-figure incomes. Some of it, both people are working and they still have six-figure incomes and they're still living paycheck to paycheck. And I talk to military retirees that are doing the same thing all the time. These guys get out and they are making more money than they ever had before. They got their pension, they got their VA disability, they got their, their new career, their whatever they're doing after the military, and they're still living paycheck to paycheck. They're not taking advantage of this tremendous opportunity they have that nobody, very few people in the world ever get that kind of opportunity that they do. And they're still just not, they're not taking advantage of it. And that's, to me, is a huge, that's a big concern. I think it's a big red flag about, like, some of the education that people are getting, not only while they're in the military, but as they're getting out too. And, when I realized my own personal story, right, it has a lot more to do with knowledge and behavior than it is with how much money you make, right? Learning how to use that stuff that you're actually, taking advantage of this opportunity. It's just something that people don't get taught. And so, when I started looking at it, right, the average advisor, I think for the whatever you want to call them, advisor, financial planner, you're probably looking at national average somewhere between $2,500 and $7,500 a year for a plan, and that's every year. And again, too, it's just you give them all your info, they put it into their software, they spit out a plan, put it in the binder that you're going to read maybe the first 5 or 6 pages of it and never touch it again because you don't really understand what's going on in there anyways. And you set up some accounts and then you talk to them maybe once or twice a year. I've talked to other, advisors that have practices, and I ask them that, like, how do you engage with their clients? Like, if they have a question, do they shoot you a text? Do they say, oh God, no. We have very strict rules about how, and I get it too, because, they're building a business. They have hundreds of clients. They can't have people just texting them all the time whenever. So they have these very strict processes, like, yes, if you have a question, you email this person, they will get back to us, and then we will send them a response. And typically we talk to our clients once or twice a year. Some of them, I'm sure, like the higher net worth, the people with a lot more complicated cases, they talk to them several times a year, right? They probably go quarterly. If you're managing tens of millions of dollars, they probably are talking to you monthly, because they want to make sure they keep those touch points. But the average person, like when you have, $150,000, maybe if that, most people I talk to don't even have that much. You're not going to get monthly touch points. Maybe you can send them an email with a question and then they'll get back to you. But it's unrealistic to think that advisor who has hundreds of other clients is doing that. I wrote about that in one of my white papers. Just those stupid commercials where you have the guy's moving his daughter into college, and they cut to a scene of him and his wife worrying about money, and then his financial advisor is sitting in this big, huge plush office behind a desk and just calls him out of the blue and says, hey, I had some ideas I wanted to run by you. And so the guy gets off the phone and he hangs up, and his wife goes, is everything going to be okay? And he goes, yeah, everything's going to be just fine. I call bullshit, right? That's not what they do. Realistically, those people are probably spending 80 to 90% of their time going out and trying to get new clients. They're not sitting around thinking like, how can I make Jim retire 1.5 years earlier? That's the reality of the situation. Like somebody in here who you might say, oh, that's not true. That's not what we do. We have whatever. I know what really, I've been around it. I've worked in the industry. I've seen what really happens, and I'm telling you, uh, your advisor is not just going to call you out of the blue. They may set up a call, if you reach out to them, but it doesn't happen. Getting back to what we're talking about, coaching. Coaching is on a more personal level, which I kind of already said before. To me personally, my own opinion, it's a more modernized version of the traditional financial planning model. And there's typically more frequent contact. You can do it at individual or group levels, which we will mostly focus on the group coaching. The benefit is that's typically cheaper. But if somebody's like, yes, I need the individual coaching, then yeah, we can absolutely do that. It's just because it requires more individualized time. Obviously, there's going to be a difference in the cost of those services. It incorporates modern technology. So, what we're working on right now, we all have these. Guess what? The world has changed. The value of a lot of the things that you get now is, of having the traditional financial planner in my opinion, unless you're in that, top point, whatever, 5% of Americans with tens of millions of dollars, you can do a lot of stuff with your phone. Like that's the reality of the situation. And it's weird because now people even trust technology more. We've just gotten so used to having these phones all the time that, I actually trust my phone more than this person who I've hired who's, supposed to look out for my best interest. It's weird the way that the relationship has developed there with technology over the years. But guess what? We're taking advantage of that and the coaching process. And probably the biggest thing, right, is we're talking about goals. We're focusing on behavior and knowledge. Your probability of success increases by something like 40% when you write down your goals. And here's where like the value of a coach comes into play. That probability increases to 80% when you have somebody to hold you accountable for those goals. And I just thought that was really powerful. I looked through a lot of stuff on the effectiveness of coaching, and I thought, man, that's something right there. 80% increase in the probability of you actually achieving your goals when you have somebody there to hold you accountable. And that's ultimately when I was thinking about this, it was like, oh wow, that is ultimately the big reason. Like, a lot of advisors are fine with you paying them, thousands of dollars a year, and if you don't do it, whatever, you're still paying them, right? They're holding up their end of the bargain. It's just you're not holding up yours. Obviously you could fire them, but if you're not one of those clients who's they're managing tens of millions of dollars for you, does that really hurt them that bad? No, they can go out and find somebody else. So next question, are you still helping retirees with SPP alternatives and making decisions about their TSP accounts? Absolutely. We still work in that. That's still like our primary effort. Military money mistakes, the coaching really came as a result of, some of the encounters that we have with people as we go through and help them with these mistakes. They say, hey, what else can you do? What else? We kind of, I saw the gap there and I thought, okay, well, this is what we can do in addition to these things. Coaching will be in addition to our current offerings. We still help people with SPP alternatives and make decisions about what to do with their TSP after retirement. So last question, probably the most important, when, where, and how. So we have the beta cohort is planning on launching that March 1st. Anybody who participates in that will get it free for life. You'll never have to pay for access, even as we update things. And and add new features, that's it. It's free to you for the rest of your life. So if you are interested for that, I'll post this link. That's just a calendar link. It goes to my calendar. There's some questions in there. Fill it out, and we'll set up a call and kind of make sure that it's a good fit for you, and that you can actually hold up your end of the bargain with that. If you don't get into the beta cohort, there's only going to be 15 or 20 people. No worries. Like, we'll add you on to the pilot group that's going to come after that. The pilot group, we're looking at launching that May. I believe it's going to be around the end of May, probably May 24th. And then realistically, we will, we will probably go live looking at August 1st. And realistically, that's when it will be a paid service. No longer, no more freebies. Anybody that wants to get into that, it will be something that you have to pay for. So we're looking at, the last question, where, that's going to be in the U.S. Vet Wealth portal, which the Insiders portal, which we've been working on. It's kind of like our own space to get away from the majority of social media, because there's a lot of distractions in there, and we're here to help solve problems, right? So we do, this is a pretty cool thing using the Mighty Network. We've got all kinds of stuff on here about TSP, SBP alternatives, and also the coaching program will be held inside here as well. So it's our own thing, away from social media, no distractions, and, hopefully gets away from, kind of helps it, makes it easier for you to make a decision about some of these questions that you have when it comes to, preparing for military transition. So, one last, thing out there to throw that, if you do want to check that out too, there's the link, militaryretirementblueprint.com. I will also post the link, an invite link, into the comments section on here when this goes live. So, you can click on that, check it out. You can create your own profile on there. We'll probably have another session where we literally just go through all the functions of the Insiders portal. That'll probably come up here in the next few weeks, now that it's been launched and it's live, and we're ready to start having people come in there and check it out. So looking forward to that. Go to the militaryretirementblueprint.com. And one last, again, too, if you are interested in being part of the beta cohort, if you're within 24 months of retirement, or you're in your first 12 months after retirement, we would love to have you come in and help us get feedback, and you get access to everything we do, Military Money Mistakes, for the rest of your life for free. So appreciate everybody's attention and interest, and reaching out to me with all these questions. And I've already met a bunch of new people, and had some folks that were interested and looking forward to when we actually launch March 1st. So again, check it out. We're here every Friday at 1 talking about all kinds of stuff. And next week, I had a conversation yesterday with somebody that asked about SBP and opting out of it. And then I, had something hit in the back, switch go off in the back of my head. And I thought, oh yeah, that's right. The SBP open season is right now. And so we're going to dig into that next week and talk about, if you weren't in SBP and you want to get into it, you can. But more importantly, if you did get into SBP because you didn't know, that you had to opt out of it, or you didn't understand exactly what it was at the time, that open season allows you to discontinue SBP permanently as well. So we're going to talk about that next week. Probably have Scott Tucker come on along with me too, and kind of go through that, and possibly another guest, or if it works out for that. So appreciate everybody supporting this, and look forward to talking to you, and see you next Friday at 1. Thanks.